Even more jurors are coming out and speaking about their experience, and what they're saying is that Alex and his defense didn't do themselves any favors, and we're going to talk about it in today's video. Hello Sofa Squad, and welcome back to the sofa. That's the old sofa back there. My name's Paul, and our trusty sidekick, Mr. Roscoe P. Coltrane, well, he's on a little bit of a vacation today. Now, what we're talking about today is a few more of the jurors have come forward, they've spoken, they did an interview. And so what I want to do is talk about a few key pieces of that interview, make some commentary on it. If you want to watch the entire interview, I'll put the link down below. And if you want to hear it without my commentary on it, then by all means go watch that. Click the link below for that. Now, what we are going to be talking about today is the case of Alec Murdaugh. He was recently found guilty of taking the life of his wife Maggie, his son Paul, and then sentenced to 2 consecutive life sentences without parole. He has tons more financial cases coming down the pipeline for him. So we're going to be talking about and looking at 3 jurors who went on the Today Show and hear what they had to say about it. So let's look at the first clip.
Correct. That's correct.
Yeah, so throughout the case, a lot of people had talked about how we didn't have a notepad in the jury room, but we weren't able to have it in the courtroom, but we did have them in the jury room. So a lot of people would write down questions as we, went back during break. So I think that kind of made the deliberation a little bit more efficient. Everybody knew the questions they had. We were able to get through them quickly.
Now, I'm glad he brought this up because that was a huge question that everybody had is, oh my gosh, they can't take notes, they can't do this, how will they ever keep track of things? So that really answered that for me of, okay, they're able to go back there, jot down questions, do that kind of a thing. And this also explains where they didn't have a ton of stuff to sort out because they probably could have written it down along the way, just like he said, and been like, okay, well, I have a question about this. We all kind of agree we want to question this, that, and the other. Now, let's hear what one of the jurors had to say about what really solidified it for her.
Well, the witness testimony was very believable, and the kennel video definitely played a major part in his testimony.
Again, that kennel video, I mean, that really just put him out there. And again, I do feel like Paul was speaking from the grave on that. Now, also, again, we saw, if you did watch it, then you also saw as well, a lot of the witness testimony was very believable. It did come off as authentic because you had people up there who were not only having to talk about the crimes at hand, but also this realization of this person who they thought that they knew wasn't the person that they knew at all. Now, let's hear what another juror had to say, not only about what clinched it for her, but also her thoughts on him taking the stand.
Well, first of all, I couldn't believe that he was taking the stand. And when he got on the stand, I was like, okay. So it was him. I don't know him, so I never, knew his voice, but I realized it was him. And in the kennel video, that just kind of sealed the deal.
Do you think he should have taken the stand?
No.
What about you, Amy?
No.
He didn't help himself?
No.
No.
If I was him, I don't think I would have, but...
Right.
Interesting, again, she says that kennel video, and for her to say, I don't know him, I never heard him, but once he got up there and spoke, 100% it was him, right? So I never even thought about the dynamic of some of these people might not even know, what he sounded like. Now, mind you, they would have heard and seen evidence at that point of maybe him talking on the body cam footage, stuff like that. However, they all unanimously are like, yeah, him getting up there did not do him any favors. And let's see what the young gentleman has to say about that as well.
I think that he believes that he's so convincing that he felt like that was his, last resort.
And I 100% agree with that. I do think that Alec thinks he is so convincing. He thinks that he can talk his way out of things, and he could get up there and kind of, maneuver his way around this because it's worked for him his whole life. Why wouldn't it work now? Now, let's hear what they have to say about all the financial information being brought into this case.
Well, we could only consider it as part of the motive. It helped showing that he was very convincing and manipulative, and so it made sense.
I love how she said that it made sense, right? Because this is such a complicated case, and they'll talk about this. There's not just one thing here. And so for her to say, you know what, for this information to come in, all his financial crimes, we could see, yeah, he's really good at lying. And, yes, of course, they obviously did prove he is a liar, right? But when you take that out from that context and put it into the current context of, what he was accused of, it all makes sense, like she said. Now, let's go back to the whole waterworks thing and hear what another juror says about that, because that's been major. The other juror, if you watch my other video, was like, I never saw tears. Let's see what she says.
No, I didn't think he was crying. He turned it on and off. Yeah. It wasn't genuine.
There you go. That part did not do him any favors at all. And this is one thing that we as audience in the from TV world or whatever, however you watch this, miss is in the courtroom, because to us it might look genuine, like he is crying, it might feel a little weird, but they were sitting right there, right? They were like just feet away from this man and seeing, the something's not right. There's no tears. There's some kind of vibe going on with him. They're going to pick up on those nuances way faster than we would here, sitting at home.
I just think that, we already know that he's a lawyer. He's able to be emotional with cases. He's able to be emotional with himself. He knows, like what she said, when to turn it on and off. So I think that we were kind of able to read right through that.
And again, as he said, they can read right through that. That part did not do Alec any favors. Now that we know that all the jurors are like, we didn't buy the crying emotional stuff, it makes it even cringier to think of how over the top he was while he was on the stand doing that.
I don't know if we'll ever know. I think it may have been a combination of things, not just the financial, but everything was weighing heavy on him, I believe.
Now, she's speaking of the motivation and that type thing, and I agree, this is such a complicated case. Unfortunately, even though, yes, we have a conviction, justice for Maggie and Paul, no one's going to ever know what would drive a man to do this, because again, this is so layered, it goes so deep, it goes so farther beyond the actions that took place on June 7th, right? And so no one's going to ever know, and there's so many different dynamics that played into this to arrive at that tragic evening where their lives were brutally taken from them.
I think it was, he wanted to have control of everything, and his wife owned the majority of the things that they owned. He had. So I'm thinking it was more like greed.
Now again, she brings in another dynamic, which I agree with her as well, and that's the whole thing. There's so many different layers, so many different angles, so many different motives, and so many different reasons as to why he came to the conclusion that he did. I don't think one standalone reason made him do this. I think it was a bunch of different things, desperation, panic, all that stuff, getting ready to be exposed, and also this pattern that was seemingly maybe working for him of, if I create some kind of crazy dynamic, people feel sorry for me, and it pushes off the inevitable, which was, these massive financial crimes and then whatever else secrets he was hiding.
I think the prosecution had a very good point. It's a storm.
Yeah.
At points in time, the defense would take one aspect and be like, it couldn't have been this. And it may not have been that one singular thing, but there's so many things there that contribute to that overall storm that I think it played a part.
And that was the best way to say it, and I'm glad he reflected back to the prosecution, saying the thing about the perfect storm, that kind of a thing, because that's exactly what I think happened. I just think it was a number of things that went down. I think there was planning into this, but not the kind of planning that took like long amounts of time or anything. But some planning, some forethought of, okay, this is how I can do this, because one thing I think that was going on is that Alec had gotten into a pattern of obviously knowing how to swindle money from insurance companies and this kind of a thing. And this was going to be like his ultimate mark, right? And so there was all these other things going on too, where stuff was in Maggie's name, everything was crashing down, and so this probably in his world just made sense.
I wanted to see how big that feed room was, and it was very tiny in person. And I also wanted to see if you could see down there to the feed room, the kennels from the house, and you could.
Now that was major for me to hear them talk about going to the property and how that changed their mind, because remember, they were like, even though the defense wanted us to do this or whatever, it worked against them, right? So many things that Alec and the defense did ended up working against them, because at the end of the day, when you're lying constantly and doing this kind of stuff, it never pans out right? So for her to talk about that feed room and going in there, and then the gentleman also, I didn't put the clip in here, but he talks about being able to kind of see, okay, I can see how, the first shot, he falls down, that's where the trajectory came from for the second one in relation to Paul's murder. And to hear them say that, to go there and it put context in there, but also when she said, yes, you could see there from the house, it all made more sense, because the thing I kept saying throughout this trial was, I would want to go there and see the distance. I would want to know what it felt like to be there, how far away these kennels are, what is the space of it, from the kennel to where, from where Paul was found to where Maggie was found, all that kind of stuff. It will be interesting to hear more jurors as they come out and speak their truth about what they did, because because this is a very difficult case to be on. Not that any case is easy to be on. I mean, you are sitting in judgment of someone, right? So that's a very, high bar, stressful task to take on. But they went over it and they came to the conclusion that they came to. So let me know what you think in the comment section. What did you think of their comments? We kind of keep seeing the same pattern coming up with the jurors who have spoken out. I think it's very interesting. So let me know what you think. We'll gather back around the sofa and the computer next time, and until we do, I'll see you soon.